Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into Chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita.
That's right, Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation.
Exactly. And we're working directly from the English translations of the verses themselves.
Fascinating stuff.
Our mission really is to go beyond maybe the common ideas of yoga, like just the poses, and dig into its teachings on, mental discipline, inner peace, the self.
And how these ancient insights still speak to us, right? How they can genuinely resonate in modern life.
That's the goal.
And what strikes me immediately is how practical these verses feel. Even now, they offer this kind of roadmap for mental clarity.
Totally agree. And it kicks off right away by tackling what a yogi even is.
Right.
Because you might think, oh, renunciation means giving up your job, your family, everything. But verse 6.1, the Blessed Lord says something quite different.
Yeah, it says the true yogi, the true renouncer, is he who performs his duty without depending on the fruits of action.
Not the person who just stops doing things, like stops the rituals or work. That's a big shift.
It really is. It's about the inner state, not just the outer action. Verse 6.2 clarifies this too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It says that this kind of renunciation is yoga, because no one becomes a yogi without renouncing desire-driven thoughts.
So it's the attachment to the results, the desire driving the thoughts. That's the key.
Exactly. Think about our daily grind. So much stress comes from clinging to outcomes, right? The promotion, the praise, avoiding failure. This says find freedom while you're acting, not just by stopping action. It's a different way to think about ambition, really.
And verse 6.3 adds another layer, saying for a beginner, action is the path, but for someone who's attained yoga, tranquility is the means.
Yes, it shows a progression.
Yeah.
You use disciplined action to get there, and once you're more established, that inner calm becomes the very ground you operate from.
Okay, so bringing it together, verse 6.4 says you've attained yoga when you're not attached to sense objects or actions and has renounced all personal motives. So what does this actually mean for us, day to day in our jobs, our lives?
Well, it means the real work, the real path to peace. It's internal. It's all happening inside.
Which leads directly to maybe one of the most powerful verses, 6.5.
Oh, absolutely.
Let a man uplift himself by his own self. Let him not degrade himself. For the self alone is the friend of the self, and the self alone is the enemy of the self.
Wow. Yeah.
That puts everything on us, doesn't it? That level of personal responsibility is intense.
It is. No one else to blame, no one else to fix it for you. And 6.6 explains the stakes.
Go on.
It says, if you conquer yourself by the self, then yourself is your friend, your greatest ally.
Okay.
But if you haven't done that inner work, then the self remains hostile, like an enemy within.
Oof, that's stark.
It really is. And it begs the question, doesn't it? How do we win that battle? How do we make the self our friend?
And the Gita doesn't just leave us there. It starts describing what that conquered self actually looks like, the qualities of an established yogi.
Right, this state of unshakable calm.
Yeah, verse 6.7 says this person is serene in cold and heat, pleasure and pain, and honor and dishonor.
Imagine that, just steady, regardless of what life throws at you.
And 6.8 adds more satisfied with knowledge and wisdom, unshakable, conquered the senses.
And this part's fascinating. Sees a clod of earth, a stone, and gold as the same.
What does that really mean? Not that they're literally identical, surely.
No. It's about seeing beyond the surface value, the material worth. It's about being free from attachment to any of it, recognizing it's all impermanent in the grand scheme.
Okay, I see. And then verse 6.9, this one always gets me. The yogi regards well-wishers, friends, enemies, the neutral, the arbiters, the hateful, the relatives, the righteous, and the unrighteous, all with equal mind.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
How is that even possible? It sounds almost detached.
I think it's less detachment and more a profound, unwavering perspective. It transcends your personal biases, your immediate emotional reactions. You see the bigger picture.
So you're not constantly thrown off balance by what other people think or do.
Exactly. Think of the freedom in that. Your inner peace isn't dependent on external validation or circumstances. That's a truly radical kind of stability.
Okay, so that's the goal state, but how do we even begin to cultivate that?
Well, the Gita gets very practical here. It dives into the how-to of meditation.
Right. Starting with verse 6.10, it says the yogi should constantly engage the mind in meditation.
And notice the conditions. Remaining in solitude, with the mind and body controlled and free from desires and possessions. It emphasizes focus and discipline.
And then it gets super specific about the setup. Verse 6.1 talks about a clean place, a firm seat, neither too high nor too low, covered with specific materials like cloth, deerskin, kusha grass.
Which sounds maybe a bit archaic now, but the principle holds, right? Create a dedicated, intentional space for practice. Set the stage for focus.
Makes sense. And the purpose, verse 6.1 says, is to purify the mind, controlling thoughts, fixing the mind on the self.
Inner selves, yeah.
Then posture, verse 6.15. Holding the body, head and neck erect and still, gazing at the tip of his nose. No looking around.
Total focus. And then the mental state in 6.14 is key. Serene mind, fearless, firm in the vow of celibacy, focused on the supreme goal.
Okay, let's pause on celibacy. That sounds pretty extreme for most people today. How should we understand that?
That's a really important point. While it can mean literal celibacy in some traditions, often in these contexts, it points towards conserving and directing your vital energy.
Like channeling it inward.
Exactly. Instead of scattering your focus and energy through endless sensory pursuits, you harness it for the spiritual goal. It's about disciplined energy management.
Okay. And the result of all this intense practice.
Verse 6.15 says, thus always uniting the mind with me, Krishna, the Supreme, the yogi, with mind disciplined, attains peace, supreme nirvana, which is in me.
Nirvana. That's a word we hear a lot. What does it mean in this context? Extinction.
Not extinction of being, it's more like the extinction of suffering, of the ego's limitations. It's described as a state of ultimate peace, liberation, a profound, blissful union with the divine or ultimate reality. Conscious being remains, but is perfected.
Got it. So it's this whole system, the place, the posture, the focus, the energy.
But it's not just about sitting meditation in isolation. That's what verses 6.16 and 6.17 make clear.
Right, the balance part. Yoga is not for one who eats too much or too little, nor for one who sleeps too much or too little.
It's for the moderate one. Moderate in eating, recreation, work, sleep, everything. That moderation itself becomes a tool that destroys sorrow.
That feels incredibly relevant. We live in such extremes today, it seems.
Absolutely. This is ancient wisdom for modern burnout, in a way. And the image it gives for success in verse 6.18 is just beautiful.
The lamp?
Yeah. As a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, so is the disciplined mind of the yogi practicing meditation on the self.
Just steady, unwavering, not blown about by every little breeze of thought or distraction.
Precisely. That's the stability we're aiming for.
So that stability leads to, what's the ultimate experience described here?
Well, verses 6.20 to 23 paint this picture of profound bliss. The mind, restrained through yoga, finds rest in the self.
And this leads to bliss through self-realization. A bliss, it says, is beyond the senses, but can be grasped by the intellect.
Which is interesting, right? It's not just a feeling, it's an understanding too. And once you attain it, it says, one considers no other gain greater.
And it isn't shaken even by the greatest sorrow? Wow.
Yeah. And then verse 6.23 defines yoga itself. It's so powerful. Disconnection from union with sorrow.
Disconnection from union with sorrow, like untying a deep knot.
Exactly. It's not just managing pain. It's fundamentally severing the link to suffering at its root.
And this connects to what's promised later, right, in verses 6.27-28.
Yes, supreme bliss for the yogi, whose mind is peaceful, free from rajas or restless energy, leading to infinite bliss of union with Brahman.
Brahman being the ultimate reality, the universal spirit.
That's the concept, yes. So it's describing this ultimate state of liberation, contentment, being completely free and connected to everything.
Which then expands the perspective outwards, doesn't it? It's not just personal bliss.
Not at all. Verses 6.29 to 32 describe this incredible universal vision.
The yogi sees the self abiding in all beings, and all beings in the self he sees the same everywhere.
Yeah, sees the divine me and all beings in me, and because of that, never loses sight of me.
It's like the boundaries dissolve.
They do. And the highest yogi, according to 6.32, is the one who sees the pleasure and pain of all beings as his own by comparison with the self.
So empathy isn't just a feeling, it's a result of seeing that shared self everywhere.
That's the idea. It's this deep, inherent interconnectedness realized. It naturally leads to universal compassion because you see yourself in others and others in yourself. It changes everything.
Okay, but let's be real. All of this sounds incredibly challenging.
Understatement.
And Arjuna, thankfully, voices this exact feeling in verses 6.33-34.
Oh yeah, the voice of the everyman right there.
Totally. He says, look, the mind is very restless, turbulent, strong, and obstinate. He compares controlling it to controlling the wind.
Which feels so true sometimes, doesn't it? Like trying to herd cats or, well, wind.
Absolutely, that feeling of the mind just scattering. We've all been there.
And Krishna's response in 6.35 and 36 is so crucial. He doesn't dismiss the difficulty.
What does he say?
He says, without doubt, the mind is restless and hard to control. He validates Arjuna's struggle.
Okay, good. He gets it.
But then he adds the key. But with practice and detachment, it can be restrained. Abhyasa and Vairagya, practice and non-attachment.
So it is possible. It's just hard work.
It's hard work, yes. But it is attainable for those who are self-controlled and strive earnestly. It offers hope, but grounds it in consistent effort.
That's reassuring. But then Arjuna raises another very human concern. What if you try, you really strive, but you don't quite make it in this lifetime?
Right, the unsuccessful yogi problem.
Yeah.
Verses 6.3738.
He asks, does that person just perish? Like a scattered cloud, losing out in both worlds. It's that fear of failure again.
Such a relatable fear when the path is long and steep. But Krishna's answer, from verse 6.04 onwards, is incredibly comforting.
What's the core message?
He says, absolutely not, O Arjuna. There is no destruction for him either in this world or the next. One who strives for the good never comes to grief.
Never comes to grief. That's a strong statement.
It is. He explains that such a person, based on their merit, is reborn perhaps in the house of the pure and prosperous, or, even though it's rare, into a family of yogis endowed with wisdom.
So they get a good starting point for next time.
Essentially, yes. And
Correct.
crucially, they regain the knowledge acquired in previous birth and strive further for perfection.
Ah, so no effort is ever truly lost. It all builds.
Exactly. It's a profound message of persistence. Your sincere efforts accumulate, maybe over lifetimes, but they always lead forward. No step on the path is wasted.
That makes the whole endeavor feel less daunting.
It does. And he wraps up that section by stating the yogi is superior to mere ascetics, scholars, or ritualists, urging Arjuna. Therefore, be a yogi.
Be the one who strives for that inner connection and mastery through practice. And then the very final verse of the chapter, 6.46, kind of brings it all together, defining the ultimate yogi.
Yes, it adds the element of devotion. Krishna says, among all yogis, he who worships me with faith, his inner self merged in me, him I consider to be the most devoted.
So it's practice, detachment, and this element of faith or devotion.
It seems to tie it all together. That sincere devotion, that merging of the inner self with the divine, coupled with the discipline we've discussed, is presented as the pinnacle. It shows how different aspects of the path converge.
Wow. Okay, so recapping this whole chapter, we went from really understanding what being a yogi means, internal renunciation, not just external.
Right, focusing on non-attachment.
To facing that internal battle, making the self our friend.
The descriptions of that incredible equanimity.
Then the practical steps for meditation, the importance of balance.
That beautiful lamp analogy.
The promise of supreme bliss, and that amazing universal vision.
Acknowledging how hard it is to control the mind.
And finally, that really comforting reassurance that no effort is ever wasted, even if you don't reach the final goal immediately. It's such a complete picture.
It really is. A comprehensive guide to inner mastery. And maybe a good thought for you listening to take away from this deep dive into Dhyana Yoga is this. Consider how just one small shift in how you approach things today, maybe consciously letting go of needing a specific outcome from a meeting or accepting a frustration without immediately fighting it internally. How could that simple act nudge you just a tiny bit closer to the kind of inner peace described here?
What part of being a yogi, as this chapter lays it out, the discipline, the non-attachment, the equanimity, the empathy, what part resonates most with where you want to go? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.